Do you ever find yourself struggling to relax without a sense of guilt that you should be doing more? In today's episode, we're diving into what you can do when you feel guilty relaxing. We'll unpack the reasons behind why this happens, especially in high achievers, and I'll share practical strategies to overcome it. Get ready to learn how to free yourself from the burden of guilt and embrace relaxation because you deserve it. Welcome to Calmly Coping. My name is Tati Garcia, and I'm a licensed therapist and coach specializing in high functioning anxiety. I help high achievers stop putting themselves last. If this topic interests you, then please subscribe whether you're watching on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you so much for tuning in. So this topic is definitely personal for me. This is something that I used to struggle with a lot. I used to feel guilty relaxing. I used to feel like I always needed to be productive. And what really brought this to the forefront for me was when I started practicing mindfulness and mindfulness meditation, and I had a day off from work or something, and I started to notice the inner dialogue that was going on in my mind. I started to notice that I was having all of these critical thoughts and being really hard on myself and judging myself and feeling like I should be doing more, or, I need to be productive, or I need to get things done on my to-do list. And that experience really opened my eyes to the kind of way that I was speaking to myself and how harmful that was, and how that really prevented me from just letting go, relaxing, and enjoying my time off. And so I have learned how to work through that and how to fully embrace relaxation. I've also helped countless clients and students do the same. And so through this episode, I'm hoping to guide you towards that as well, because I know that finding a way to relax and actually be present in your life is so important, because we're not machines. We can't constantly just be working and being productive and always creating and doing more. We need to balance that with rest and recharging and taking care of ourselves, because otherwise, if you're constantly doing and constantly staying busy, then when are you actually enjoying things? Because then it can turn into just going from one thing to the next and not really being present for the moments in your life that are important, or even, whether it's those large moments of vacations or holidays or events with family or friends, or even the small day-to-day moments that can be really fulfilling, like waking up and enjoying your morning routine with a nice cup of coffee, or going for a nice evening walk with a partner or family member, or, any of those small things that can make life more enjoyable. So that's what I hope to guide you through in this episode to get more of those moments in your life. First, let's start with talking about what guilt is. So the definition of guilt is a feeling of having done wrong or failed in an obligation. So essentially, it's a feeling that comes when you feel as though you've done something wrong, or you've failed in some way. You haven't upheld something that you felt as though you should have been doing. Here's the thing why guilt tends to come up, especially in somebody who is high achieving or ambitious or focused on accomplishing more, achieving more, when you're trying to relax, because you may have high expectations for yourself and feel like you need to be doing it all and getting all the things done. You could also have limiting beliefs, and these are unhelpful beliefs about yourself, about the world around you, that could influence your perspective on relaxation, on productivity, on busyness. And I'm going to go into those more later in the episode. And it could also be what you observed. So maybe you saw parents or caregivers or teachers or anybody else in your life constantly in this state of busyness. Maybe they were hard workers and passed that belief on to you, or maybe this is something you experienced personally, and because you had to care for a lot when you were a child, maybe you didn't have family members present to help you out, and you had to do a lot on your own. And that could have been something that you learned to do at a young age. And maybe you associate rest and relaxation with laziness, or with something bad is going to happen, or with things are going to fall apart. So that's why there can be this guilt that comes up. And guilt ultimately is a motivating emotion. Guilt motivates you to take action to try and right that wrong in some way, which is why you may have learned to experience guilt in response to something that you are not happy with, something that you feel like you're doing quote unquote wrong, because guilt will then motivate you to try to right that wrong and fix that situation. So maybe if you're in a situation where you're relaxing, you're not busy, you will try to do something to help to relieve that guilt and to make you feel like, okay, well, at least I'm doing something. But then you get caught in the cycle of never really having downtime, whether it is like physically or even mentally, because there's that inner dialogue going on. So there are negative consequences that can come from constantly being busy and never taking time for yourself, never taking time to relax and recharge or disconnect from responsibilities, from your work, or from anything else that is keeping you busy in your day-to-day. So it could be burnout, and burnout is when you reach a point of basically you have nothing left to give. You have been working so hard that you've reached a point where you're starting to feel resentful, you're starting to feel really overwhelmed, anxious, stress, a sense of dread when you think about going into work or whatever it is that's causing you this burnout. It could also result in, I mentioned, anxiety. So if you're somebody who struggles with overthinking things and really fearing and worrying the worst case scenario and a lot of the physical signs that come along with anxiety, this could be another negative consequence of not taking time to rest and recharge. When you're not taking care of yourself, and that includes your mental health, then it's going to make other mental health struggles bigger, and it could be something that makes them more difficult to handle. Also, things like stress and chronic stress can come as a result of not taking time to recharge, and just the natural consequences, like I discussed before, of not feeling like you are enjoying your life, not feeling like you are taking time for yourself. And that can come out in other ways. Like there's this term that I learned about in this article called revenge bedtime procrastination. And it's basically when you feel like you haven't had any time for yourself during the day, so then you stay up late past like your bedtime or the time you would like to go to sleep in order to take that time for yourself. So maybe it's like watching TV shows you like, or doing something else that you enjoy because you feel like you haven't had this time for yourself. This can be one of the consequences, that if you feel like you haven't gotten time for yourself to fully recharge, it can have not only a negative impact on how you're feeling, but also on your behaviors, and then throw off other aspects of your life. So maybe you won't be getting enough sleep, or maybe you're not going to be performing as well in work because you're finding it harder to focus. So there can be tons of negative consequences. That's why it's so important to prioritize time for yourself, for rest, and for relaxation. So now let's get into like the bulk of how you can do that. So I'm going to share a 5-step simple process to help you to let go of the guilt and start actually enjoying and being present for your relaxation time. Before I get into that, I want to share more about my free training. It is for high-achieving professionals who are struggling with overthinking things, putting tons of pressure on themselves, and a difficulty with maintaining work-life balance. It is called How to Overcome High-Functioning Anxiety. I'm in the process of actually renaming it to How to Create Work-Life Balance and Feel Calmer as a High Achiever. It is a simple, less than 60-minute training that will guide you through my 3-phase process to help you to create work-life balance, feel calmer, and feel more confident from within as a high-achieving professional. You can learn more and sign up for this free training by going to calmlycoping.com/workshop. Now let's get into the 5-step process for what to do when you feel guilty relaxing. So step 1 is to address the guilt. So I explained what guilt is before and why it comes up. So one important step is to actually ask yourself, is there a factual, objective reason for you to feel guilty? Are you actually doing something wrong or failing in some way for relaxing, for taking a break, for taking a day off or a vacation or taking a step back? This will help you to assess if the guilt is actually warranted. So our emotions are always valid. Feeling a certain way is not a wrong thing. And at the same time, an emotion may not always be based on the facts. And so that's when I talk about, is it warranted? Is this emotion coming from an objective way of thinking, or is it really coming from these beliefs that you have around relaxation. Many times when it comes to feeling guilty relaxing, the answer to whether or not this is factual and objective that you are doing something wrong is no, because relaxing isn't wrong. Even though you may feel and believe like, oh, I need to be getting these things done and I need to focus on just accomplishing and checking these things off, it is not wrong to rest. It is necessary. It is essential. Oftentimes when guilt comes up in these situations, it's something that you have learned to motivate yourself because you have learned certain beliefs around relaxation and needing to be busy and productive. And so when you can really take a step back, sometimes it can be easier to look at this from another person's perspective and think of, okay, if this were a friend of mine, would I say that they're doing something wrong for taking a break or for taking time off? Probably not. You probably wouldn't be so hard and critical and have such high expectations for a friend of yours. So why do you have those high expectations for yourself? And at the same time, it's okay to have high expectations, but not at the expense of caring for yourself. That is step one, really addressing the guilt and seeing, is this factual? Step two is to challenge the underlying limiting beliefs. So I kind of touched on this earlier in the episode. These are these unhelpful beliefs that we've often learned, whether it is in childhood, whether it is something that you have learned from societal and cultural beliefs and expectations. Maybe it's something you've learned from family or from school or maybe from past experiences. And these beliefs have become part of the way that you view things. Even if they are inaccurate, they're going to be driving your behaviors. Limiting beliefs are often inaccurate and are holding you back and making you feel worse about yourself. So some examples of limiting beliefs that are specific to people who feel guilty when they relax are things like, I should be doing more, or I'm not doing enough, I'm lazy, I need to always be productive, I don't have time to relax, I need to earn rest and relaxation, I can't relax, or I don't know how to relax. These are kind of the overarching ones that I have experienced myself. I've heard from clients and students as well. I encourage you, if you want to go back a little bit and look at these beliefs and maybe check off or write down what are the ones that you believe yourself. And then the next step, once you've identified these limiting beliefs that you hold, would be to challenge them. And it's going to be a similar process to what we just did in step one. So you're looking at, is this actually based on evidence and fact? Is this something that I would tell a friend of mine? Once you can start to really look at these beliefs and kind of like pull them apart, you can start to realize that they're not factual. You're not lazy just because you take time to relax. You don't always need to be productive. In fact, it's impossible to always be productive. And you can oftentimes be more productive when you're actually taking a step back and taking a rest and a break. That's something that I just recently experienced. I took a month off of the podcast and made a shift in how often I'm releasing episodes, and took that time in order to reflect and recharge and kind of renew my energy and my passion for doing this. So without having done that, I would be stuck in that like same pattern of feeling like I just need to be churning out episodes and constantly doing things and I'm not allowed to take a break. And that would ultimately, if I continued down that path, lead me to a point of burnout, feeling resentful or feeling not interested in what I'm doing anymore, even though this is something that I'm super passionate about. So resting allows you to be present, but it also allows you to be more productive and intentional and focused with the work that you're doing in the long run. So this is one way of challenging these beliefs. So you can even go through an exercise of writing down, okay, what are the limiting beliefs that you hold when it comes to rest, relaxation, productivity, and then how would you challenge it? So you could do like split your paper into two columns. One is the limiting beliefs, and then one is challenging these beliefs. And one thing that can be helpful is once you've challenged these, so let's say if the belief is I'm lazy, if I take time to relax, maybe you would challenge that with relaxation allows me to be more productive in the long run, and it's necessary to care for myself. Then take that rewritten belief and put it somewhere where you can regularly see it, or check out that list on a daily basis. I like to use Post-it notes and put them like on my desk as a reminder for what I want to reframe my way of thinking to be. And the more that you practice this new way of thinking and the more you reframe and challenge these beliefs, then the more you're going to actually rewire your brain and have a new way of thinking. I actually have a whole episode with positive affirmations for overachievers to help you to feel calmer and more confident from within. So that is one way to help you to rewire your way of thinking. Step 3. After you've addressed the guilt, after you've challenged the underlying limiting beliefs, is to practice relaxation. What I mean by this is to just take a break. Take some time for yourself. Maybe it's you're taking time on a weekend and notice what comes up. This is similar to what I told you about earlier in the episode about my experience. When I had a day off and I was becoming more aware of my thinking, that's when I noticed all of these thoughts that were coming up and that were making it harder for me to relax. This can be helpful to help you assess, is there something else that is stopping you from relaxing? So sometimes it can be overthinking, can be negative thoughts and worries that come up. Maybe you're trying to problem solve or prepare for something that's coming up in the future that's making you feel worried or anxious. Sometimes it can be difficult emotions that you're experiencing or feeling. It can be fear. It can be feeling like you don't know how to relax because it's been so long and because you've been stuck in this pattern of just constantly staying busy. Once you've practiced relaxing, just bring awareness to that experience. Bring curiosity to, all right, what happens when I actually try and relax? What happens if I take an hour or a day or a weekend for myself and I don't have anything on my to-do list? What comes up? Are there negative thoughts? Are there difficult emotions? Bringing awareness to this can help you to address any of these blocks to relaxation. So once you've identified them, you can learn to explore how to work through those things. And I have plenty of resources on a lot of these in the podcast. I have episodes on overthinking. I have episodes on high functioning anxiety. I have episodes on how to relax. And so you can just search through my previous episodes and find some of those resources once you've identified, okay, are there any other factors that are making it harder for you to relax? Step 4 is to create a list of things that help you to relax. I want you to especially include things that help you to feel more present and in the moment. So for me personally, recently, it's been reading a good fiction book. I've been super into thriller and horror books. That's like my thing and has kept me really interested and actually helped to improve my focus by doing something that requires more attention and focus and is still enjoyable. So finding what is it for you. So I like I just mentioned, reading fiction or going on a walk, going on a hike, spending time with friends and family, doing things like disconnecting from my computer, my email and social media when I am on a break or a day off. This is especially more important because I work from home, so it would be easy for me to just grab my laptop and start working, but I make these intentional boundaries so that I can distinguish my rest and recharging time from my working time, doing what works for you, because it's going to be different for everybody. So assessing and thinking of, what is it that helps you to relax? What is it that helps you feel present? Maybe thinking back to in the past when you were younger or when you weren't feeling as stressed or constantly busy, how were you spending your time? Looking for ideas online. Pinterest, I love, is a great resource, or, just Googling, what are some ways to relax? Creating this list is going to be helpful because it's going to reduce the overthinking of, okay, when it's time to relax, now what do I do? You can have this list readily available so that you can have some ideas for how to spend your time. Step 5 is to make an intentional relaxation plan. I want you to put it in your calendar, put it in your planner, and making a specific plan. The same way that you would schedule a meeting in your calendar with somebody else, scheduling time for yourself for rest and recharging and relaxation. I'm using all these words interchangeably, but that is so essential, and that will allow you to and encourage you to stick to it more. This can also reduce decision fatigue, overthinking, procrastinating this time, and making excuses when the time comes if it is something that you have planned out for yourself. If it will help you to schedule this time, one thing that can be helpful is practicing setting boundaries and saying no to other things if that's going to prevent you from having relaxation time for yourself, or if this is going to result in you feeling overwhelmed. It's all about carving out time for yourself no matter how long. I know that everybody has a different schedule and different responsibilities, so even if it's just finding 5 to 15 minutes for yourself during the day, then that is an excellent start, and you can create a recurring task in your calendar or a to-do list task or whatever will help you to keep it at the top of your mind. At the end of the day, You deserve to rest. You need to rest. You're not a machine. And this is so important, not just for you, but for the people around you. Because when you are taking care of yourself, it's going to automatically improve your relationships and the way that you act towards others, because I'm sure you've experienced when you have been stressed or overwhelmed or anxious or not taking time for yourself, it's much easier to be reactive and irritable and nasty towards the people around you. Look at this as something that is essential for you, for the people you care for the people you supervise, work with, for the people in your life. So your guilt around relaxation is something that you have learned. And 99% of the time, it is not justified. Recognize that and know that you can unlearn it. I have, and so have so many of my clients and students. And you can do the same through practice and self-compassion. So I want to recap this 5-step process for what to do when you feel guilty relaxing. Step 1, address the guilt. Step 2, challenge the underlying limiting beliefs. Step 3, practice relaxation and identify the blocks. Step 4, create a list of things that help you relax. And step 5, make an intentional relaxation plan. This is not something that I expect you to do in one day or even in 1 week. Take your time with this, do it one step at a time. And each moment where you are taking this time for yourself and going through one of these steps is a moment where you are taking care of yourself, and it is a step forward in your self-improvement journey. If you have any questions about this episode, feel free to reach out to me directly via becalmwithtati.com. Again, that free training is there for you on how to create work-life balance and feel calmer as a high achiever at calmlycoping.com/workshop. And while you wait for the next episode, I have other episodes about how to feel calmer from within, create work-life balance, and feel more confident. You can check out these episodes here. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and until next time, be calm.